Hey there, welcome back to Blue Grit Radio. Got Eric here, and I'm going to do a quick blurb, and in this episode I want to talk about frequent questions regarding the military prior to law enforcement. This is something that we've touched on a couple times on Blue Grit. It's something that me and my recruiter Brian have talked about in other podcasts, but basically there are a couple main questions, and the first main question is if you should get into the military in order to feed in or fuel a future career in law enforcement. And that's a big, it depends, which is everyone's favorite answer. The second question I'll get into is if you're in the military or you know you want to serve in the military, well, first off, hats off to you and thank you for your service or your future service. But what should you do in the military? What kind of assignments, what kind of units, what kind of branch, on and on. So first off, I'm going to get into the should you join the military for law enforcement. And I will say, for the sole purpose of law enforcement, barring anything else, no, you should not join the military to get into law enforcement. You should join the military because you want to serve in the military. If you want to get into law enforcement and the military seems like it's a really good route for you as far as development, college might not be your thing, there's no other work opportunities that you've had prior that you can even think about that would be interesting to you, and you kind of like the idea of service, then I would say entertain it. I would say definitely do your homework, do a lot of soul searching, talk to people, reach out, anyone that you know or friends of friends, family, what their experience was like, just like when you're getting law enforcement, right? Hopefully this is helpful to you. If you don't know anyone personally in law enforcement, that's a lot of what the page is about. But just to summarize, no, you should not go into the military just to get into law enforcement. And I guess this will bleed right into the second part. What should you do to get you ready for law enforcement if you're in the military? And is the military a natural transition? And it's not. I think you'll have law enforcement professionals, whether they're in hiring or just general cops that have been around and have met a lot of applicants or potential recruits, or people that actually became police officers and struggled. Maybe they were able to climb out of it, maybe they just struggled indefinitely and did not complete their academy time or did not complete their field training program. But no, it's not a gimme. Other than having uniform and some rank structure, it does not prepare you outwardly just for the job. So in the military, there are so many different jobs. There's so many different roles and components. Some people get into the military, it's just like anything else. They get in and they get nothing out of it. They don't apply themselves. They're literally the person just assigned to a unit. They have no special duties, no special training. And so would that make you a good law enforcement candidate? Absolutely not. Then you think about other details that might seem more related. You have guard details, you have military police, MPs, and I will still push back on this. Although you would think and you would assume a pretty solid transition and carryover, it doesn't always pan out that way. We don't always see that on the other side. And this will take me to my real takeaway that you've probably heard me say before, which is do something that you're passionate about, do something that you're good at, or something that you can continue to build and develop, because that's what's going to make you a better law enforcement officer or first responder, right? First response, emergency work takes quick decision making, and if you don't have that, like I didn't have that, I would say inherently as a young man or even as a young adult, you have to work at it, and I worked at it on the job. There's definitely other venues to work at it, but I was able to get over those humps and figure out that struggle, right? MP, guard details, depending on the person, depending on the military officer or whatever, Some of those people have engaged, they've challenged themselves, they've taken on additional duties, they've taken on leadership abilities, and they've learned to be dynamic and flexible and accept adversity, all those awesome things, right? But again, some people can only follow orders, and that is not going to be useful on the street. Oftentimes, your sergeant is no closer than a phone call away, and you gotta make do with what you have, with the legal knowledge, with the judgment that's informed based on your legal knowledge and training, and your wits, right? Your street smarts or your book smarts and combination therein. So, senior officer on your crew might not be able to help you. Peer officer might not be able to help you. Ultimately, you got you, and you got to make a decision. It might not be the best decision, but as a wise man once told me when I was literally seeking out ways to become a more dynamic, quick thinker in stressful situations, he told me that a good idea now, or a good option now, is better than the great option or best option later. And I still carry that with me. I pass it out and advise my new guys to think on that, especially if they know that they tend to be your overthinkers, if they know that they tend to be someone that likes to evaluate every little nuance and detail and figure out best case scenario. If you're like me and you gotta look up a restaurant and cross-reference the menu with reviews from Google and Yelp and your best friends and foodies input, then yeah, you need to wrap your head around that, and that's a skill that you can work on. So, to summarize, should you go into the military? There's no should. If you want to, and that resonates with you, and you have a heart for service in that capacity, then please do. And I appreciate that, and I know there are a lot of people that appreciate that. And if you're thinking about it for law enforcement, then you have to ask if it's right for you. I've covered this before, but if you're listening to this and you're like, well, shoot, now what? I guess military might not be a good fit based on what Tung here just said. And I would say, think about what you're passionate about. Because ultimately, whether you go to the military or you go into corrections as an officer, or you go to college, or you run a landscaping business with your uncle and a friend, or you work retail, or you work with kids at a community center, those are all fantastic avenues to get into law enforcement. Not just on the resume. It's not going to do that. That's not going to do it alone. A sweet internship with a federal agency while you go to school isn't going to do it alone, because I've seen that applicant too. It's going to be a combination of what you do, how you apply yourself, thus what you learn from it, and how you engage. So I hope you found that helpful. Please, like all the others, share it out. Share it out to the people that you know that are thinking about law enforcement, whether they're in high school, college, or they're looking for that second career, looking for that sense of purpose and reinventing themselves and finding a new environment to swim and grow. Or if it's something that you think would resonate even with those that are outside of the field that might not be entertaining it, but maybe they know someone. Please share this out. I appreciate all the feedback. I appreciate the reviews that lets this podcast be found. Again, if you got any questions, you have requests for topics, hit me up. Send me a DM, Blue Grit Wellness on Instagram, bluegritwellness@gmail.com, and take care.